guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
The eagle on the back of the $1 bill is a busy bird. In one claw, he has, looks like olive branches. In the other claw, there is a clutch of 13 arrows, one suggesting, of course, stasis for military action, and the other, the preceding military action. And to the left of that image, on the other side of the bill on the back, is the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on the top. Anuit Cryptis, it says, Novos Ordos Seclorum, the New World Order, a reference to the occultic, you might say even pre-Egyptian ambitions of the people who, by one account, carry the mark of Cain on them, and who are those who are the stewards of the modern state. Well, this is David Tulis, and we're going to see how the slogan above, on the other side of the bill again, above the eagle, is in passing. And that slogan is one that warms our hearts if we are members of the Boy Scouts or Trail Life USA. We hear this and we think, oh, yes, we are Americans and we are united in a great country. Let us stand now and offer the Pledge of Allegiance. The slogan that is on a piece of ribbon in the eagle's mouth says, E pluribus unum. And that means from many, from a plurality, one, right? Unum is one. Remember, Unum Insurance Company, the idea of that being replacing Providence Insurance Company became Unum, one. We're one. E pluribus unum, from many, one. And that is pretendedly a picture of the colonies founding the national power in the coup at Philadelphia in 1778. So we are now one, right? We're a great nation, as we're supposed to understand. We were at first a confederation, quite a different entity than a nation. But the founders wanted a nation, and were fed up and tired with the hobbling claims of the Confederacy against national activity, including a national bank. And so we have this slogan and we have this picture. But the good news is, here on Nooga Radio with David Tulis, that there is an undoing already in progress of that slogan. And I would like to suggest that its reversal is not something to be feared, but really something to be desired. And the reversal of E pluribus unum, if you want to get into the Latin, is as follows: ex uno pluro, and that means from one, many. From one, many. And that is the argument for local economy and the free market, because there cannot be a real local economy, a genuine Chattanooga-oriented, loco-centric, Nooga-centric, rich, prosperous, hard money, earnest, and delightful, and other-seeking local economy if there is not the reversal of the promises made on the back of the $1 bill, which, of course, will continue circulating until a million of them won't even buy a loaf of white bread, if we come to that straits, which is called a hyperinflation. Not likely, but it certainly is possible. Every fiat currency issued by a national central bank has met its doom, and that of the Federal Reserve System cannot be excluded from that equally sound promise, though one bleak as all get out. Again, the phrase that we want here at Nooga Radio with David Tulis, your morning host, is ex uno pluro, from many, from one, many. Ex is, of course, out. Uno is one, and plura is plurality, right? Plura is Latin for many. From one, many, and that is what we want. And it really can't occur until there is it might say a sclerosis in the national power, and a reckoning that the system cannot be reformed and cannot reform itself. And it can't be reformed, as Charles Hugh Smith describes in his many books, and other writers such as Gary North, who is a noted scholar, a noted historian, has a prodigious output, more than 50 books. I've read just a few of them, maybe about 10 or 15 of his works, and consult with them regularly, including many theological works such as economic treatises on the book of Deuteronomy, for example. He has a whole book on Leviticus and the economic implications of God's law in the law there. So he's a very serious writer. And in fact, his work appears sometimes in current editorializing at LouRockwell.com, probably the most noted free market, anti-war, anti-state website that you can visit. And he has a terrific analysis of a couple weeks ago of the discretionary part of the federal budget getting smaller and smaller. It's now about 15%. And he posits the time when it will be 4% and down to 3%, 2%. In other words, all federal politics will be about 2% of the budget. The rest being non-discretionary, going to Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and the pentagram. The pentagram is of those four, the last and weakest to be able to claim its share of the pie. As that pie has to shrink at some point, and it will. There, we're going to see the old geezers in the welfare state as our ally. It will compel a shrinking of the warfare state, the surveillance state, represented by the 5 stars, right? The pentacle, the five stars that are part of the American iconography, visible on the back of the $1 bill, and on of course, the federal flag, where each little pentacle represents a state. Well, we are here at AM 1240, FM 92.7. And the analysis of North is very, very enlightening. He quotes a speech that Donald Trump gave not long ago. In fact, it's on a recent post on his website, at the White House website, and he says that there is a bureaucratization in the federal sector, the direct agencies controlled by the executive branch, that have brought the country to a standstill. We are in many ways at a standstill, though we have the artificial injections of easy credit all around us. If you go to Facebook today, you can see my little presentation about this show today in front of yet another building shooting up on Highway 153, one of many that have gone up in the past couple of years here at the peak of the bubble, right? We're in a real estate bubble. And here at the peak, we see these buildings going up for yet another garage, right? Or another apartment complex going up inside Daisy. Multiple millions invested by people who have access to easy credit and great terms. And that system is supporting the federal behemoth, and it is something that has drawn Trump's notice. Of course, he ran against it, as it were, but there's really very little he can do to stop it. And in fact, his $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which won't pass, is just another boondoggle that won't have much effect. When Obama passed his $800 billion stimulus, only about 27.5 actually was spent on transportation infrastructure projects, according to let's see, I'm not sure what North's source is for that, but very little actually got down to the economy. And one reason is the whole permitting process that involves many federal organisms. Trump is he's buffaloed, he's thwarted, he's stiff-armed by the circumstances of the federal bureaucracy. He says for too long, America has poured trillions and trillions of dollars into rebuilding foreign countries while allowing our own country, the country we love, and its infrastructure to fall into a state of total disrepair. And so he mentions the clogged roads, the crumbling dams and locks, rivers in trouble, railways aging, and so on. Instead of rebuilding our country, Washington has spent decades building a dense thicket of rules, regulations, and red tape. And here now is the reason why there can't be reform. There will not be reform. There will not be spending cuts. They will not happen. It took only 4 years to build the Golden State Bridge, he says, and 5 years to build the Hoover Dam. And less than 1 year to build the Empire State Building. People don't believe that. It took less than 1 year, he says. But today it can take 10 years and far more than that just to get approvals and permits needed to build a major infrastructure project. These charts beside me are actually a simplified version of our highway permitting process. It includes 16 different approvals involving 10 different federal agencies being governed by 26 different statutes. As one example, and this happened just 30 minutes ago, I was sitting with a great group of people responsible for their state's economic development and roadways. All of you are in the room now. And one gentleman from Maryland was talking about an 18-mile road, and he brought with him some of the approvals that they've gotten and paid for. They spent $29 million, he says, for an environmental report weighing 70 pounds and costing $24,000 a page. And so he says he wanted to make mention of this. But these binders on the stage, he got a hold of the document, could be replaced by just a few simple pages, and it would be just as good. It would actually be much better, because these binders also make you do unnecessary things that cost billions and billions of dollars, and they actually make it worse. As another example, he says, if you look at it, in Ohio, the Ohio River Bridge, $2.3 billion. The project amassed a 150,000-page administrative record. 150,000 pages is a 5-story tall building. Think of it. If you could put the paper together, it's a 5-story building. There is a disaster ahead. The federal monstrosity is unstoppable. The only thing really that can stop this blind and lumbering giant, he says, is the turning off of the lights, and that will be the Great Reckoning, what North calls the Great Reckoning. There is no willingness in Congress to cut the budget of any of the bureaucracies. The civil courts are clogged with other issues besides bureaucratic issues. The paperwork is more obscene in its magnitude. It is never reduced. It always increases. And then he quotes a great German sociologist, Max Weber, who has a crucial defense of capitalism and the free market, ascribing its rise to Christianity, particularly the Reformation in the 1500s and the 1600s. From there, from the discovery of the Bible, again, after it had been hidden for hundreds of years by the Roman Catholic religious machine, there was a flowering of intelligence, a flowering of science, all coming from a rediscovery of the Word of God, right? The gospel, which is the proof of the fixity of nature, the certainty of God's rules and laws in nature and in human affairs. And Weber, in another event here, a speech that he gave in 1909, talks about how bureaucracy, even in the German progressive state, Germany being the home of bureaucracy, in fact, the home of public schools. We get our public schools from the Germans. Even then, in that early stage of the professional state, right? The professional state having risen from personal governments by kings and lords and manor keepers. Even then, it was getting to be oppressive. Weber says, but horrible as the thought is that the world may one day be peopled with professors, there's laughter, we would retire to a desert island if such a thing were to happen. It is still more horrible to think that the world could one day be filled with nothing but those little cogs, little men clinging to the little jobs and striving towards bigger ones, a state of affairs which is to be seen once more, as in the Egyptian records, playing an ever-increasing part in the spirit of our present administrative system, and especially of its offspring, the students. And he goes on to talk about the passion for bureaucracy. It is enough to drive one to despair. It is as if in politics the specter of timidity, which has in any case always been rather a good standby for the German, were to stand alone at the helm, as if we were deliberately to become men who need order and nothing but order, who become nervous and cowardly if for one moment this order wavers, and helpless if we are torn away from their total incorporation in it. That the world should know no men but these. It is in such an evolution that we are already caught up. This is 1909. And the great question is therefore not how we can promote and hasten it, but what can we oppose to this machinery in order to keep a portion of mankind free from this, and here's the phrase that draws North's special admiration, free from this parceling out of the soul, from this supreme mastery of the bureaucratic way of life, the parceling out of the soul. So what's going to happen is the great default when the host dies. The host is the national economy. And that's why I'm very optimistic and very hopeful that as we think about e pluribus unum, as we think about the restoration of humanity to politics with, say, the election of Karen Handel yesterday in Georgia against a pro-abortion candidate, John Ossoff, who didn't even live in the district and who's living in sin with his girlfriend. Here, this woman outspent 7-1, winning the seat in the federal House. She's the author of Planned Bullyhood, The Truth Behind the Headlines About Planned Parenthood Funding Battle with Susan G. Komen for the Cure. She was on that board and opposed to the tarnishing of that group's reputation by supporting the slaughter of children, the murder of thousands and thousands of black baby girls, and thousands and thousands and thousands of black baby boys, and thousands and thousands and thousands of white baby boys, and thousands and thousands and thousands of white baby girls, and thousands and thousands and thousands of Hispanic boys and girls, and even Asians and others at the scalpel and vacuum cleaning suction nozzle of abortionists, called by euphemism in the Chattanooga Times Free Press, abortion doctors, right? Abortion providers. That's their noble name. We can't not call them abortionists because that is a pejorative. It makes them sound bad. It makes them sound like their whole occupation is the killing of children. And no, we have to have them to be providers of a fine service, abortion. Susan Handel winning, though outspent 7-1, outspent by the Democratic Shrillmeisters 7-1. And the most expensive political campaign, where $25 million was spent all told, Ossoff spending 21 million. I'm going to be at the front line of fighting for women, Karen says. I'm not going to be lectured by you, John. She has spent her career fighting women's health, and she is pro-life. The collapse of the national narrative, with its baby killings, all just sweeping people along, sweeping them to think that they're good, this is for their benefit. This is a system that is on its way out, and it will fail because its promises are false. Its promises of continuing prosperity by administration. We will have prosperity if we just have a program to help people obtain their benefits. If we have another program to help small businesses get free solar panels, or get their clients tax credits if they get solar panels. This whole stream, from every point in the economy to every other point, there is a federal program, a federal benefit, or a concurrent or concomitant obligation, an obligation against the member of the public who lives with carrot and stick at every turn. The back of the dollar bill has that eagle, right? The eagle is a busy bird with the clutch of arrows in one hand, 13, and the olive branch in the other. And from his beak, there is the scrolling ribbon that says on it, E pluribus unum, from many one. And that is part of the occultic history, you might say, of the Federal Republic. But there is in these 13 colonies that became states, it has come to them a kind of de-testicularization. They have become eunuchs. They have become men who are not men, right? They are reflective of their former agent that has become the master. That is what happened. Washington, D.C. threw out his multiple landlords, and he's taken over the property. And he is a permanent tenant. And now he doesn't pay rent. He doesn't pay rent. But he takes a toll on his 50 shiftless former landlords, who are now mendicants and beggars, waiting for the free money, waiting for the free highway. It might take 15 years to build an 18-mile bit of road and generate 150,000 pages of administrative note-taking. But we're there to help you. We are there to help you. This system is not going to last. And that is why we're here thinking about the future, and we're thinking very optimistically about the future. And the question is, what can you do? What about you, my listener? You, my listener, you, the man who matters, right? The man who reads Nooganomics.com. The man who knows that if he needs a good attorney, he contacts Clay Whitaker at the McCoon Law Firm. You, the responsible man. who's taking charge. That's what you need to do. You need to take charge, and you need to focus on what's important. And I would say that would be ignoring sports. I often, when I'm doing sales calls, I say, well, I boast about the fact that we have Colin Cowherd on our station. And I'm always confident that women don't know who that is. So I say, before I list, rattle off our great stars on the station, I say, well, ma'am, do you follow sports? Most women are smart enough to say they don't, and so they don't know the name of Colin Cowherd. So I say, well, Colin Cowherd, we have him, many, tens of thousands of listeners of Colin Cowherd, who's like the Sean Hannity of sports. But you know what? I think if you're the man who matters, you're going to pay less and less attention to sports, and you're going to pay more and more attention to things that matter. I would say, well, scriptural wisdom would be the leading point. But other things would be giving time to your wife, giving time to your children, not wasting a minute, and divesting nationally and investing locally in yourself, in hard assets, in your own little business. This is David Tulis, Nooga Radio.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.